All right, we survived another week. It's Selection Sunday, should I add? And can I
Mhm.
just say this feels really early for Selection Sunday? I don't know why, but I had to look at my calendar. I'm like, oh shit, it's this week. So tonight at 6, I believe, on CBS or TBS. It's one of those two. But anyway, tune in tonight. Should be a fun time. We do have a lot of college basketball to talk, at least in my takeaways in a moment. Jason's got a lot of the football news. Um,
Mhm.
and can we just say that we're not addressing the elephant in the room about Derek Carr? And I think we should talk about this to start. Derek Carr got $40 million a year for the next 4 years to play with the freaking Saints.
Yeah, I know.
First off, where do they have the money? Number two, I think my second biggest question here is why in the hell would anybody think he's worth that kind of money?
To be honest with you, only thing I can think of is that the Saints just maneuvered and restructured a lot of deals, and also they probably were able to have the money only because of the increase in salary cap. That's probably another reason why too.
Yeah, he's just not a good quarterback. That's my opinion. He's just not a
No, I
good
don't,
quarterback.
and I don't think even with the kind of offense that the Saints have right now either is that they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna be any better with Derek Carr as compared to like Jameis
No,
Winston or whoever else that they had at
he was
quarterback.
he was the worst starting quarterback not named Dak Prescott last year. So just want to throw that out there. And you're paying him $40 million a year. Bullshit.
Right.
But
Well,
but I digress. It's time to go on with the show. Let's start with my takeaways here since Jason started it out last time. We got to stick with the XFL here because this is huge in a market that the NFL just said go F yourself to. St. Louis is close to selling out the entire dome for all the Battlehawks home games. And they are now selling, I believe I saw 400 level seats for $18 for the whole, for each game.
hmm,
Of course, we know like teams like Seattle, teams like Orlando, they're selling just the lower bowl. Meanwhile, you look at St. Louis, they have such a demand right now, they have to sell every seat. Okay,
really, it's
I
crazy.
said I said last week on this show, St. Louis is going to be the only thing that saves the XFL, if it saves it. And oh my gosh, and like I I had to propose the question. The NFL should be looking at St. Louis right now, seeing what's going on, and saying we made a big mistake.
I don't think so, fortunately, because if you think about it, the NFL is such a big juggernaut of a professional sports league that they're going to think of what's the bigger market. And they're going to think, well, LA is the bigger market compared to St. Louis. Yes, I get it. St. Louis, is
Well, let's be
able to
fair.
sell out an XFL game, but NFL did all about the money. And
But
if
you
they can
say
make
that.
more money from from LA, they're going to do it. Unfortunately,
But here's the thing, you say that, but yet we've got teams in Jacksonville, and no offense, we got a team in Green Bay. Nobody knows, no other major professional sport has a team in those cities.
Green Bay has been prestigious
I mean,
because that team has been around since the 1920s. So,
yeah. But what I'm saying is if it's big market, then those teams should be moved. Just on that. I mean, San Fran's a big market. You know, there's 2 teams in Ohio, but that's a bit of a reach for me to state. But I just point out Jacksonville right there. If any market should have been left, it should have been the Jacksonville market at the time. Now Jacksonville has a little bit more of a following. They're starting to look on the up and up. So I can't shit on them too much, but St. Louis, though, I'm sorry, they did that market dirty. It's just like the NBA doing Seattle dirty.
that's true. See, the problem with the NFL is that you already have 32 teams, and even
You'd have
amount.
to add 2 more.
If you were able to go to 34, I can see where St. Louis would make most sense, and then maybe I don't know.
St. Louis is forever going to be that market that for the NFL, it's going to be like the NBA with Seattle. It's forever going to be compared to that of a, what could be. And I mean, that's a true Midwest team.
What we do is have a team back in Oakland and have a team back in St. Louis if you were to really expand. That's the only thing I can think of that would make sense.
See, we don't need another team in California, and we sure as hell don't need another team in Dallas, or in Texas, rather.
Right.
To be honest, what I'd love to see is St. Louis. And what other big market doesn't have an NFL team? I mean, obviously I'd love to see a Toronto team, but I think that ship's never going to happen.
But they also had the CFL, so I don't think they need an NFL team. So,
I mean, they say San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas. Frankly, we don't need, like I said, we don't need another Texas team. If anything, Houston should move their team to San Antonio. What's it? I mean, Portland, Oregon would be a nice one just because Oregon doesn't have a football team, but we don't really, I mean, Portland would be the only one I could think of. Because Florida, Texas, New York, and California don't need other NFL franchises. Sorry.
right.
So, I'd either point to Oklahoma City or to Portland, Oregon. And then Ohio doesn't need another team either. But,
it does, Pennsylvania.
But anyway, it seems like San Antonio or, it seems like the Alamo Dome might host an NFL team in the future, though, because it seems like that's every NFL team's, target market when they're trying to convince their city to build a NFL stadium. I mean
that could happen.
That's what
San
the Bills
Antonio, I
did.
think, would make sense.
Unless Houston moves there, I don't think it'd be a good idea. I think Houston should be the one to move to San Antonio. But they got a good stadium right now. They really don't have a need to move. They did get hit with a cap violation, though, so that was pretty funny.
What, the Texans?
Yeah, for the Deshaun Watson deal. Something about bookkeeping, I guess. But, Yeah, so let the coaching carousel in what I consider to be the Power Six begin. St. John's Mike Thompson and Georgetown's Patrick Ewing have been fired as head coaches of their schools. I don't really have much on Mike Thompson, but Rick Pitino. Now keep in mind, Rick Pitino is a Naismith Hall of Famer. He is being considered as a candidate for St. John's. Of course, that would be Rick Pitino's return to the Big East. He last coached in the Big East when Louisville was there before the ACC. As far as Patrick Ewing, though, his coaching career in college was, at least the last 2 years, an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, he started out well out of conference last season, then lost, what was it, like 18 or 19 straight games he lost. Then this year only won 2 games in the Big East. So he's 2-50 or something. Or he's had 50 losses in the last 2 seasons. Hey, if they kept him, he'd be right on track with Jim Boeheim and Coach K. Except the loss column would be over 1,000. He should have been gone last year. That's just my opinion. Patrick Ewing should have been gone last season. And as far as St. John's, don't even get me started on them. They aren't even deserving of being in the Big East. They've been basement dwellers for years. So, hopefully Rick Pitino, if he does go there, and it seems like he's going to, hopefully he can turn that program around. And there's a guy who can do it. I mean, here's a guy, I'm sorry, I got to be Chris Collinsworth, but here's a guy that I thought could put Iona on the map. So, I'll leave it at that. Interesting firings, though. One that just happened a year too late. And I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Selection Sunday, it is upon us. There's a lot of headlines going into today's Selection Sunday. UNC is the biggest one. UNC could be the first AP number 1 in the preseason to not make the NCAA tournament. According to Joe Lunardi, the Big Ten could feature 9 teams in the field of 68, which would be the most of the Power 6 conferences. Then as far as broadcasting news, it came out on Friday. Dick Vitale was asked and was approved by ESPN to go work with CBS for the Final Four, and Dick Vitale turned it down, saying he'd rather stay with ESPN and he wouldn't work for anybody else. Now, I gotta pause here and say that's an interesting one, because I had said, if you recall last year when he was battling cancer, I'm like, CBS and ESPN should do the right thing and give Dick Vitale a Final Four.
I kind of think he kind of shot himself in the foot there and not taking the offer to be able to work the Final Four. Because say, I don't think it's going to happen, but say like somehow he bites the dust next year, then he's going to go down, well, he didn't work a Final Four when he could have, before he did pass or something like that.
But on the flip side, everyone's going to say he was a loyal man to his, to his company.
Yeah.
Which
nothing wrong with that too.
Which is rare. It's rare.
It's working, you gotta take,
See, it's a bucket list item. I mean, now, here's the thing. It's not like Dick Vitale has never called a Final Four. Dick Vitale has called Final Fours in the past. However, he's done it for the international markets. The English, the English language feed in international markets, of course, ESPN, their broadcasting team, their top broadcasting team, broadcasts the international feed for the Final Four in the national championship, which is how Dick Vitale gets to call it every year. But Dick Vitale has never called it in the U.S. market. So even more reason why Dick Vitale should have taken this offer. Craig Sager, rest in peace to him. He did it for ESPN in the Final Four, in the NBA Finals a few years ago, before he passed away. Let's face it, Dick Vitale's in his 80s. He's not getting younger. I don't know. I wish he would have taken it. I love his loyalty. I respect it. But I wish he had taken it.
Especially since you never can tell what's going to happen tomorrow or, in the future. I think that's going to be something that he's going to regret.
I will say, though, maybe it's a good thing because I feel like him and Bill Raftery would be just a smidge too much. Because Bill Raftery can be kind of funny himself.
Yeah, but you never know until you actually saw it.
But with that, the other big story, of course, CBS's top play-by-play announcer, Jim Nantz, has announced it will be his final NCAA championship, and he will be replaced by Ian Eagle starting next season as the lead play-by-play. And for those who don't know, Ian Eagle, I believe he's on CBS's NFL number 2 team, and I believe he's also one of the play-by-play announcers for NBA on TNT.
Probably.
I know he works for Turner in some fashion, so he definitely does something for Turner and he does something for CBS, so a good neutral pick if this partnership continues. But with that, I will say it'll be a fun NCAA tournament. I look forward to seeing the 68 teams that'll be in the bracket at the end of tonight. But right now, it's time to flip the script because we do have free agency coming up this week. We have the draft in a month. And boy, a lot of news has been made on the NFL side. And for that, it's Jason's turn with his take.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more news that has happened that I'm not going to really discuss in my takeaways. I mean, of course, a lot of players have gotten tagged, but there were not exclusive rights tags. Lamar Jackson being one of them. Josh Jacobs being one of them. Saquon Barkley being one of them. I didn't write it down, but we now have another $40 million quarterback, and his name is Daniel Jones. I think that the Giants in that situation made the wrong move. It should have been Saquon that got the bigger deal, and you should have tagged Daniel Jones instead. But
frankly, he's not even worth the tag, in my opinion. I mean, Saquon carried that team.
I agree. But ultimately, yeah, there was a lot of players that got tagged, but most notably, Lamar Jackson was the one that got tagged. Of course, we'll talk about that closer towards the beginning of the year of what happened, free agency and stuff like that, where players will go. So, of course, be on the watch for free agency. Who knows what could happen? But a big thing that, not free agency-wise, the big news that's going to be involving the draft and really changing things up. The Chicago Bears have traded the first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers for the number 9 and number 61 picks for this year, a first round pick next year, and a 2025 second round pick, and also wide receiver DJ Moore.
Ryan Pace, man, he made him, Ryan Poles, or I forget his name, but he made himself a hell of a deal right there. And let's face it, I mean, as much as I don't like the fact that we're going to see Justin Fields start yet again,
I know.
Carolina, I'm going to tell you right now, let Frank Reich cook, man. This is big. I mean, this is big for both teams because now Carolina can get their next franchise quarterback, either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. And it's clear
Personally, if I'm Frank Reich, I would probably go for C.J. Stroud more than Bryce Young. Only because Alabama quarterbacks, maybe minus Tua, but Tua can't really, it seems to not be able to stay healthy as of right now. And then they will also happen in college. But Alabama quarterbacks don't seem to be able to transition very well to the NFL. So if I'm the Carolina Panthers, and nothing against Bryce Young, I would probably go C.J. Stroud more than Bryce Young, only because of the fact that, if you can somehow make Bryce Young like a Jalen Hurts, maybe you could just get lucky enough. But again, seeing these Alabama quarterbacks, they don't seem to do very well in the NFL.
Well, neither do Ohio State quarterbacks. So I mean, in a way, it's a lose-lose.
That's very true. And here's looking at you, Justin Fields. Then maybe Bryce Young would be the better option. Frank Reich Frank Reich has never been on a team with Jalen Hurts, but he has also played with, he has had Carson Wentz, and so we'll see what happens with this. But it's very interesting to see what Chicago got with trading away the number 1 overall pick. I mean, DJ Moore isn't a terrible receiver, but the problem is that if you don't have a quarterback that can throw him the ball, his production values, they're going to go a lot worse than it already did in Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
So, see. But Carolina, hopefully you can do the right thing and build that team into possibly a team that can compete for the division this year. So, this one was kind of an interesting one for my second takeaway. I figured it was coming because I think Jason McCourty retired before Devin did. And I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so now we don't have either twins.
Oh, they're twins, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, Devin McCourty has officially announced his retirement after 13 years, I think, all with the New England Patriots, too.
Man.
A lot of players can say that they've played 13 seasons with the same team and also win 3 championships with the same team, too. But Devin McCourty has been one hell of a player for the Patriots. I mean, 3-time Super Bowl champion. I think he was a 2-time Pro Bowler. He had like over 55 in his 13 years, and did what needed to be done for the New England Patriots. I mean, he was the main reason what helped them, win some of those Super Bowls in the first place. So congratulations, Devin McCourty. Hopefully retirement can treat you well.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at New England, most of those talented players that you've had to help that team get to the playoffs almost every single year seems to be either retiring or going somewhere else. So New England, it's not looking very promising for you heading into the future, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, though, what happens with Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones, because that could be, like I said, it can't get much worse for Mac Jones next year, I'd imagine.
Again, you know what I say about these Alabama quarterbacks? They do very well in the NFL. I mean, Mac Jones is up and down. You know, but
Mac regressed last year, so if he can get back to his rookie year, like numbers and whatnot, he might have New England on like the cusp of the playoffs.
I mean, true. So I didn't have this written down on the takeaways, but I feel like this is very interesting. I don't know if you saw, but the New York Jets are trying to meet with Aaron Rodgers face to face to strike a deal for him to become the next New York Giant. Let me tell you something, Jets fans. Don't get your hopes up because it's not going to happen.
There's a reason that oh my God, who was the other quarterback? Oh, Derek Carr. There's a reason Derek Carr didn't go there, and frankly, they're lucky he didn't. They dodged a bullet.
I hate to say it, Jets. You're just going to have to deal with Mike White and Zach Wilson for another year. You're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. And if somehow you do get Aaron Rodgers, don't expect him to, go out there and be the same kind of MVP quarterback like he was in Green Bay.
He will have better weapons, though, in New York than he does in Green Bay. I'm sorry to say it.
True.
I mean, you don't get much worse than what Green Bay has to offer.
And probably a better defense than Green Bay, too, but hey. Who knows? But, yeah, I kind of had to say that. I just don't see him leaving Green Bay just yet. But I know that the time frame for him leaving is going to be sooner than later. Speaking of a player in the same division, Adam Thielen has been released by the Minnesota Vikings. I get it. He hasn't been the same player since Justin Jefferson has arrived. But I really do think that's going to hurt the team in the long run. Because when Jefferson is literally double-teamed almost every single play and you have nobody on the other side to release the tension from him, I just don't see Minnesota having that scapegoat. I mean, yeah, they technically do have another receiver that came in and took some pressure off of Jefferson. I just feel bad for Thielen because when it was Diggs and Thielen was that guy that could, help relieve the tension from Diggs. But then ever since they got Jefferson, Jefferson is literally like the best thing that's happened to Minnesota since probably Randy Moss. And now Adam Thielen's like an afterthought. And the problem is that I just think that his stock and free agency, because of the last few years, has really gone down. I think he can still provide production to a team that, needs a receiver. Personally,
I don't know.
I might be very biased of saying it, but I would love to see Buffalo maybe going after a receiver like him. Because
they really
if he can
don't have the cap for him, though.
They might. Even if it's like a 1 year
I don't know.
1 year deal,
I
maybe.
I
Just
just
maybe.
don't see it happening.
Actually, speaking of the Buffalo Bills, it's been stated by Adam Schefter himself that possibly the Bills are not going to keep um, Tremaine Edmonds and Jordan Poyer. Poyer has been stating he doesn't know if he wants to stay with Buffalo because he wants to be in the sunshine and doesn't want to deal with a state with high state taxes. Well, okay, that's fine. You can go to Miami and enjoy the sun and not win a division every single year. That's fine with me. If you don't want to have a quarterback that can actually be able to throw the ball and have to literally work your ass off on defense, that's all the power to you. But just just know that you had the best chance with the Buffalo Bills. I get it, it's a business in the end of the day, and that things are going to happen, but it kind of sucks to have to lose both. It really does. But as far as the Minnesota Vikings, I guess something had to give, and it sucked that it had to be Adam Thielen.
Yeah, not really. I mean, he was a bum the last few years. I'm sorry.
That's because he had Jefferson.
It don't matter. It don't matter. If Jefferson's double teamed, he's the next guy in line. And he didn't do shit as the next guy in line. At some point, you got to realize he's an old man and he's not that good.
I mean, not as good as he used to be. And I guess that's what happens when you get into your 30s, Brian.
Now that we've gone undisputed and just turned this into a shouting match. Oh my god! Listen, if he wants to be old and trash, that's what New England's for.
Oh, why can I see that happening though?
I'm telling you, if anything, I see that happening.
Wide receivers end up in New England anyway, so it does not shock me he ends up going there.
Yeah, like I said, I just see that one happening more than anything else right now. I definitely
want to be able to turn his career around in New England too.
I definitely cannot see the Bills getting him though. I'm sorry, I just don't see that happening at all. They have too much concerns on that defense now with Edmonds and Poyer out the door.
Possibly, we don't know exactly. I don't trust Schefter. I think Brandon Beam's got a ace up his sleeve, some way, somehow.
You better hope so, because otherwise, it's going to be another very disappointing end to another strong season.
I know. Honestly, I mean, if we somehow don't keep Tremaine Edmonds, if we can somehow restructure some deals and create some cap space, I think Bobby Wagner would be an option to replace Edmonds. As far as Poyer, I don't know, because Hamlin's probably not going to play at all next year, and if he somehow does, that'd be a miracle. Probably somewhere maybe in a half a year.
Well, if he plays next year, there's one thing you can guarantee. He's going to give Alex Smith a run for the money in that comeback player of the year category.
That's true, too. So it's very tough. I mean, I know Micah Hyde is going to be back fully healthy heading into next year, so at least Buffalo has him. As far as what you could do for safety, I don't know who's available out there. It kind of sucks that Devin McCourty retired, because if he was free agent, I'd say, boom, it'd be cool. But I don't know. If anything, age. I think losing Edmonds would be better than losing Poyer. I think if somehow Buffalo can strike a deal, even if it's like a 1 to 2 year deal or something like that, still better than nothing. I will say this though. Now, if Buffalo does not get Poyer, I would think that with a 27th pick, you would have to go safety. You would have to get a safety at a 27th pick.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Exactly.
But other than that, I think it's time for an anchor
Yeah, let's
break.
take a break. When we come back, oh man, we got a fun discussion coming up here. One of the landscape of college basketball is officially changed for good, and I'll tell you why when we come back for the second half of the show in just a moment. All right, so I had to wear this for today's show. I know it's tough to see with my microphone there, but I gotta tell you, this was one of those things where it's shocking, but it's not because he's 78 years old. But Jim Boeheim has officially retired as the Syracuse basketball head coach after 47 seasons, and keep in mind 60 years involved with Syracuse University and still counting. Of course, Jim Boeheim, 1,015 Division I wins, second most all time. Technically 1,200 if you consider all the vacated wins that happened.
Right.
He was a national champion in 2003, the Carmelo and GMAC roster with Hakeem Warwick. Naismith Hall of Fame inductee in 2005. A three-time gold medalist as an assistant coach to Coach K. And, man, just, ultimately, and the biggest thing, putting Syracuse on the map. And I'll give my thoughts on that in a moment. But, of course, the big news is that, well, there's going to be no interview process for his replacement. They've already got one. And his name is Adrian Autry. Red. Coach Red is going to be the head coach of the Syracuse Orange. He's the 8th program head coach. The first head coaching position he's ever held at any level, college or high school. And man, I'm telling you, I mean, Jim Boeheim says no doubts, but I have doubts.
I mean, was he one of his assistants, or?
That was his top assistant.
I guess it makes sense. I mean, the thing is that, like, it really makes you wonder if they're going to still have the same system in place because he was already with, Jim already. So I would assume it's probably going to still be the same offense heading into next season. One. But two, it's going to be very interesting to see how different the recruiting process is going to be and, how they're just going to be as a team in general. Because, if he's been with Jim so, a good amount of years, the recruiting process as well as the system might very well be the same as it would be if Jim Boeheim was still coaching. So we'll have to see how different Syracuse is going to be heading into next season. But who knows? I mean, I guess time will tell, and then also how I guess it's also going to be interesting to see how well the players and all the other coaches are going to go around this new coach in place. So
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to conduct things the way they've been conducted for 47 years. And it sounds like from the press conference, the little bits and pieces I watched of it, he's going to do new ways of, recruiting and all that, kind of be that fresh face. So I guess it's going to be a lot of learning as he goes along. I kind of wish they made a deal with Mike Hopkins or, went with GMAC, but Adrian's done a good job as an assistant the last few years and as the associate head coach the past 5 or 6 seasons. As far as Jim Boeheim goes, there's very few coaches that put their program on the map themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, I guess you got to say Coach K with Duke, but Coach K didn't spend his whole career there. Roy Williams, Dean Smith built UNC from the ground up. Okay, Dean Smith is the reason UNC is on the map. Roy Williams just happened to continue that legacy throughout his coaching career. And then Mark Few. And, Jason, you've heard me give so much crap to Gonzaga for being, the powerhouse, the weak powerhouse in a weak conference.
Yeah.
But hey, you got to give him credit because at the very least he's keeping them in the top 25. He's keeping them relevant every year. It's just rare right now. I mean, not many coaches want to stay and build, their own program. That's why I say it's really the end of an era right there.
Right.
But, because a lot of these guys, they want to go and take the next, they want to take the next big job. I mean, I got to point out two guys that I remember off the top of my head. Porter Moser. He's now the Oklahoma head coach. He was the Loyola coach the year they went to the Final Four. So Porter Moser is one of them. Could have put Loyola on the map as a perennial powerhouse. That one was disappointing to see him leave for that Oklahoma job in a Power 5 conference. Then you look at Shaka Smart, if you want to go back to the early 2010s when VCU was running through the A10 conference. They were, making the tournament every year, making deep runs. And he goes off to Texas, and now he's in exile. We just don't know. He hasn't done anything since.
Right.
I mean, these guys don't want to build a program from the ground up. They want to go to a program where they know they're going to have almost immediate success. And can I point out about Porter Moser? Not a winning. He's only had one winning season since leaving Loyola Chicago. I got his records right here: 19-16, 7-11 in the conference, in the Big 12 conference. 15-16 this year, 5-13 in conference. No tournament appearances since going over there. Now, again, he's got to, when you take over a college program, it's really going to take 3 to 4 years with recruiting for you to get the program where you want it to be. It's not like the NFL where you can make trades and release people and sign people. Like college, when you build a program, you need at least 3 years to really, get the players in that will fit your system and all that. But so I can't really count the first 2 years, but man. But what I'm going with here is Jim Boeheim has done something that nobody's ever going to do again. All 1,000 of those wins have been in Syracuse, by the way.
That's crazy.
That should be noted. He never coached anywhere else. He threatened to go to the U of R, but he stayed in Syracuse. And I hope they give him an ambassador role.
Threatened to go from Division 1 to Division 3.
No. When he was the assistant coach for Syracuse, he threatened to go to the U of R if he wasn't offered the coaching job, and sure enough, he got it.
Yeah, I was going to say he was a player and also assistant before becoming the head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great.
And he had fielded NBA offers in the 90s as well. There were rumors of him going to Ohio State in the late 80s. there were rumors of him going to the NBA, and he did take interviews with NBA teams and ultimately turned it down.
Can you imagine if he was with the Knicks right now?
He was, I believe it was the Wizards. I'd have to reread that book that, there's a book by Scott Petoniak that I read years ago, and I remember reading that he was asked to interview with some NBA teams, and I remember Ohio State stood out in terms of head coaching vacancies.
Yeah, Scott Petoniak, I know
Hmm.
who that is.
Now I just got to read Jim Boeheim's book in his own words, that Color Me Orange book. I believe it is. I have it in here.
Local sports journalist Scott Petoniak, Rochester.
Sorry, you're going to hear my desk drawer going crazy here because I got to find that book somewhere. But, yeah, congratulations, I guess, is in order for Jim. The other thing is I hope this was on his terms and not just what the university decided they wanted to do.
I'm sure that it was probably on his terms. If it wasn't, he would still be coaching.
Oh, absolutely. And good to see him coach his sons, too. Sorry, I'm looking for the book that I'm talking about. So forgive me. I am not very well organized, clearly. But in the meantime, I guess I'll... Oh, here it is. It's buried underneath some of my stuff in here. Bleeding Orange is what it's called. Jim Boeheim wrote this. I really got to take time to read this thing. But it's Jim Boeheim's book in his own words with Jack McCallum. So if you have a Barnes & Noble around you, maybe go check it out. Maybe you can read it with me. So... Yeah, so with that, let's go to Tinkle on this. And, of course, for those who don't know, Travis Kelce hosted SNL last week. And Travis Kelce, of course, took some time to, torch his brother on the show, in the monologue. His brother, his mom, his dad were in the audience. And he said, my brother can admit that it was a holding call, right? Just basically egging him on, trying to get him upset. And then later in the show, they did a little skit called The Ex-Girlfriend, where, I forget the actress's name that was on it, but Jason Kelce made a guest appearance as his ex-girlfriend's new fiance, or new boyfriend there. And basically the line was, oh, you having problems with them? Do you need me to beat him up? Because I could definitely beat him up. Jason Kelce said about Travis there. Man, I just loved it. Just all around. Not just that skit. I know I wrote down that skit, but just all around. Tinkle on this to the Kelce brothers. Just burning each other every chance they got on SNL. I'm glad Jason got to be a part of it.
I know. Actually, congratulations to Jason Kelce for being a dad for a third time.
Yeah, congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, he had another baby girl, 3 daughters. God bless him.
Pray for that man. No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. I'm having 3. Oh Lord.
But all right. But yeah, so that's it for us here. I know you haven't been on No Final Bell lately, but what's coming up this week?
Well, eventually, when I find time to watch Revolution, we're gonna talk about that. I got, of course, you can't stay away from the spoilers, so I know a few that have happened, but eventually make sure to tune into No Final Bell. I want to really try to be on it consistently. It's really tough because, my hours are literally all over the place. But hopefully next week and future weeks it'll be consistently mids and also mornings, so we'll hopefully I can be able to make it happen where I can be on there consistently, or you might see a lot of just Marty, or maybe just me, who knows, but I'm going to try to be back, so what's on out of turn 4?
Man, so I don't think we talked about this last week, but Chase Elliott broke his fibula. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. We did talk about that on last week's show. We talked about the possibility of his replacements. We now can confirm that Josh Berry will stay in the car, the Xfinity driver for Junior Motorsports.
I think you did specify on the show. I think I do remember you saying it. I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure you have.
I can't either. It's been a long week, so. But we'll continue talking about the latest on Chase Elliott and his recovery. Jenson Button, by the way, Formula One world champion, is going to go NASCAR racing with Stuart Haas Racing and Rick Ware Racing. So we'll tell you what races he'll be running in. We'll also talk about some of the latest updates. So we'll bring that all to you this week. Recap, where are they this weekend? Phoenix. So we'll recap Phoenix. It'll be a fun week, so we're on at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Jason Marty will be on this week as well at some point, I'm sure. But
yeah, definitely at some point. Since I'm all mornings this coming next week, so sure we'll find time.
So, yeah, we'll see. But we want to thank you for watching this show at least, and we will see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Sunday Morning Tinkle. Until then, goodbye, everyone.